Hey, what's up guys, Jamie here, and today we're doing a full tutorial on Firestore CRUD operations, and this is thanks to a comment from one of my subscribers right here, whose name I can't pronounce. So thank you very much for the video suggestion, and what we're going to be building looks something like this. We're basically going to be writing and reading some basic objects to Firebase, so we can add new items, we can delete existing items, and we can update items, and it's all revolving around a timestamp inside of Firebase. So it's going to look something like this. Alright, and with that said, let's get into the actual design and content. So inside of Firestore, you've got two main things. You've got collections, and then you've got documents. And when you're writing data to Firebase, it's always going to be to a document. Collections don't really actually exist. They're just kind of like the path to a document. But with that said, the path to a document always has to be root/collection/document/collection/document. Like, it always has to alternate. You can't have two collections in a row, and you can't have two documents in a row. So like an example of this might be if you have like some users in your app, you could do /users. Users would be the collection, and then slash like the user ID, so UID. These can be automatically generated by Firebase. I'll show you that when we're looking at that actual code. So this right here, this is the document. That's a document. Alright, and that's a collection. Alright, so just keep that in mind, that when you're writing data, it always has to follow this pattern. And then maybe to show you one more example, let's say we wanted each user to have like some notes or something like that. Say we're building like a notes app. Then we could do users /user ID /notes /note ID. Alright, so that's just kind of like a nested document right there. So you can nest, and what makes Firestore so much more scalable than your typical NoSQL database is you're actually able to request only like this document if you wanted to, and not get all of the sub objects. But in traditional NoSQL, you cannot do that. Okay, so that's what makes Firestore so awesome. That's how the data model works. We're done with this little drawing thing right here, and we're going to jump into the actual code. So put on your coding hats, and let's jump into my code editor. Alright, so I just have a blank project here with AngularFire2 installed. If you don't have a project set up already, be sure to check out my video on getting started with AngularFire2. I just have a full guide on getting set up on that. But assuming you already have a project, we're just going to get started using CRUD operations in Firestore. Alright, so I'm going to make a button here called add, and this will be like our create operation. And it's just going to call a function called add. And we're just going to add to a collection called items inside of Firebase. Alright, so I'm just going to make a function called add here inside of the TypeScript file. And this is going to access that database, our database from Firestore, and then say collection, and then the name of the collection, which we would like to add something to. And in this case, we can just do like /items. You don't need like a / at the beginning. It can figure that out, but you do need slashes for any, if it was like a item /item ID /other items, you would need slashes between there, but this is just a root level collection. It's just /items. So we're going to call .add here, and then we can pass in whatever data we want. I'm just going to pass in a timestamp. So we basically just add in this object, and we add it to that collection, okay? And so let's just press this button. It'll be a lot easier if I just show you what this does. So we have our button here, and I'm going to press it, and then that made a request to add something to our Firebase database. Alright, so back in Firebase, I'm just going to pop over to the database. And by the way, if you haven't set up the database, make sure you click the Create Database button to create your Firestore database if you haven't opened this page before. But assuming that you have, see I have a collection here at the root level called items. Alright, so that's the collection. And then in there, there's a document. where this ID was auto-generated by Firebase. Thank you, Firebase. It just generates an ID for us whenever we call add on a collection. Super nice. All right, and then here is our beautiful timestamp data inside of this document right here. All right, so let's move along to the read operation. Okay, so we've created something, and now we're going to read. And the way we're going to do that is just using a Firestore listen. All right, so let's make an array to hold the items which we're going to be reading from Firestore. Okay, and then in the ng on init function, I'm just going to call, we're going to call this dot db dot collection. We're going to listen to the entire collection of items. Then we give it the collection name, which is items. Okay, the collection path, rather. It could be like slash whatever, but right now it's just root slash items. And then we're going to call dot snapshot changes dot subscribe. Okay, now this is the one you almost always want to use. There are two of them here. One's called value changes, and the other one is called snapshot changes. Snapshot changes will include the ID of each of those objects which we're listening to, like each of these items. It'll give us back the ID, and you always want the ID because otherwise you can't like modify that data. You don't know where it came from. So just always use the snapshot changes. And then we're going to call dot subscribe and then pass in a callback here. So the callback is going to have our data. So data, and then this callback is just basically going to handle anytime the data changes inside of Firebase. We're gonna get this callback called with that new data, and also it'll be called at the very beginning as well. So we have something to start out with. So once we get the data, we're gonna say data.forEach. I'm going to call it something else other than data, by the way. I'm going to rename it to be like server items, just to be clear for you guys about what's going on here. These are from Firebase. Alright, then we're going to do a for each loop to iterate over each item. Okay, I'm just going to call it A. Okay, and then inside of here, I just want to show you what's kind of in this A object. The reason I call it A is because it's not really an item. It's kind of just a bunch of garbage, to be quite honest, because it's just messy and I don't really like it. But inside of here, there is a payload and there is a document. Okay, and there is an ID, and then there is the actual data. Okay, and what I like to do is just grab the data, which is the actual like JSON object representing the data inside the document, and then store that inside of a variable. So let item equals that. Alright, and then I also like to grab the ID and put it into the item as well. So item.id equals a.payload.doc.id. Okay, and again, the reason I'm going to declare item as any type, because otherwise it won't let me do that. The reason I'm doing this is because then I can access all of the data as well as the ID of the object just all in the same level. Trust me, it's going to make it way easier coming up. Alright, so now we have an object that just has the data as well as the ID all at the same level. And now I'm just going to call this .items.push and then pass in that item. Alright, and we also got to clear out items before we do this. Set it equal to an empty array. So let me just summarize again what this is doing. It's just synchronizing our items array with this collection inside of Firebase, the whole entire collection. And it will make each of those objects inside of that array a simple JSON object with all the fields in it, like the timestamp, as well as the ID at the same level. So I do this in every single one of my projects. This code is super useful. I recommend like writing this down. I'll leave a link to the source code below this video if you guys want to star it or something, or just whatever you want to do. But this code is super useful. Anyway, so back inside of the HTML, I'm just going to make like a bunch of divs repeating for every item. So ng4 repeating for every item, let item of items. And then inside of here, I'm going to put in the item.timestamp. And then I'm going to run that through the date pipe in Angular. I think I have a video on that if you want to check that out if you're just want to watch a video about a pipe. That's when I was making videos on like every single topic. Anyways, let's just see what that does. Let's see if we can see our items, see if we have any errors. Yeah, it's usually hard to get it right on the first time. Alright, unable to convert timestamp into date. That's because in Firestore, if it's a timestamp object, you need to call .toDate to turn it into an actual like JavaScript date object. That was a recent change they made. That's like the only thing that's kind of weird like that. Like if we stored anything else like a string, you could literally just put like the name of the string right there and you'd be just fine. But timestamps are kind of funny. You got to call .toDate, and then you've also got to pipe it out so that it looks better. So there we go. There's our date object. That's what I mean. Like we're just formatting it kind of nice to make it look like an actual date instead of like some number. Alright, so now we've done read. We've successfully read from a collection. So let's do update next. So here on the same line, I'm going to make another button, which just says update. Alright, and that's what it's going to look like, just like that. And then over here, I'm going to make another function called update. We actually need to pass in the item, so I'm going to pass in the item as a parameter, like this, item, because we need to know which one we're going to update. And this one is simply going to update the timestamp. So the way we do that is we type this .db.doc and then the path to the document, which is going to be items/item.id. So this is where this code from the listening came in handy. Right here when we set the item ID. That's what makes this so easy and simple right here, is we can just say item.id. Alright, and then we're going to call .update. Okay? So easy as that. We just kind of do the same thing that we were doing over here. Pass in a new timestamp. And then this will just kind of update fields with this name inside of that document. And if the field doesn't exist, then it will just create a new field and give it that value. So pretty useful operation, this one. And then actually, before we test out this update button, I'm going to make it so that the timestamp is like more specific. Instead of showing just the date, I'm going to make it show like the actual time. Okay, and the way we do that is I'm just going to go over to the HTML and then type in full time right here with a colon and some single quotes. And that way the time will be displayed big like this. So that looks a lot better now. When we call update on the thing, we'll actually be able to tell that it really updated. Alright, so I'm going to press this update button right here, and we saw that the time changed just barely, so that's pretty cool. Updating again. Okay, so it is including the seconds, so it's really easy to tell that this is working. I'm also going to try adding another item here. We can see that that's working as well. By the way, you'll notice that they're kind of like in a weird order. They're just in whatever order the IDs are in, because the IDs are randomly generated by Firebase. They don't really have a rhyme or reason. They're just a bunch of letters and numbers which Firebase somehow comes up with, and they don't really have much to do with ordering by the time. And so if we wanted to sort them by time, we could do that. The way we do that is when we are subscribing to the items right here, we could pass in this what's called a query function. Basically, it allows you to specify like sorting options or like a limit to the number of items you want to receive for a collection. And so I'm just going to say q.order by, and then the name of the field is timestamp. So this will sort them by order of timestamp. Alright, so let's check that out. And again, that's just the name of this field right here. So now they are in ascending order from lowest to highest. You can also reverse them to highest to lowest if you just also provide DESC. It's lowercase like that, DESC. Okay, so let's check that out, and now it should be, yep, now it's highest to lowest. So when we update this guy, it'll jump to the top up there, 59. So this is working pretty good, guys. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. If you are, leave a like. And we are also going to continue and do the delete. Okay, so we've done create, read, update, and now let's do delete. So the way we're going to do that is I'm just going to make another button here called delete. And it also needs to pass in the item. Okay, and it's going to look similar to update. Delete takes in an item. And then inside of here, we're going to call this .db.document, and then the ID of the document, items, or the path to the document, item/item.id, and then we're going to call .delete. And that's all we got to do. Pretty easy, right? Alright, so there's our delete button. Let's try deleting the one with 51 seconds. So press delete there, and now it's gone. And we'll check Firebase, and there are only 3 now as well. So this is working really, really good. And then I guess the only other thing which we haven't really covered is reading from a specific document. Because right here, this part, this is reading from a collection. Alright, and then you can't like update an entire list, so that doesn't apply to both collections and documents. You can't delete an entire list, you have to do it one by one. And you can't add a collection, you just add documents. But you can read from a single document as well as read from an entire collection. So if you had like a specific document you wanted to listen to or just read from, you would just call this .db.doc, and then again just the path to that document like this. Then you can just call .snapshot changes, and then just deal with it in a similar manner to this. You just pull out the data and do whatever you want to do with it. So it's pretty similar to this, so I'm not going to do that. But hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you like this video, please leave a like. It really helps the channel out, and it helps me know what you guys like as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe and also leave a comment down below. All this stuff just kind of like helps boost the YouTube algorithm, and also it's kind of fun to see what you guys have to say about the video. I like interacting with you guys in the comments section. So leave a comment down below. What do you guys think about this video? Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.